Pittsburgh, Keystone Church, Pastor Nate here. I have spent the day on the road, and when I am on the road, I spend a lot of time thinking and studying, and I have really enjoyed it. And hopefully you have been able to find some time to just escape away from things that need to be escaped away from. Not that you do that all the time, but every once in a while you change your scenery. Man, that's hard to do right now because you're locked in that house and you've got all the things that you have to do, and you are shouldering all the responsibilities. And even though it seems like your normal is different, it does seem like you're trapped in what you're in. But I do hope that you spend some time just changing your scenery and just getting away from everything and taking some time to just think and clear your head and just spend some time with God. Those are magical times that God really starts to speak to you. It happened for me. This morning I was visiting a bunch of different places. There were plots on the map that I was going to be traveling, about 4, 5, 6 hours worth of traveling today. And there were different spots that I had to visit. So on my computer at home, I made that map. I plotted out those points, and then there's a feature in Google Maps where you can take those plotted points after it calculates your trip, lets you know exactly what it is, and you can send it to your phone. So I did that, and then I got up this morning and I left, but it was after I made a stop somewhere real quick that I then started the map, and I could not get the stinking maps to map out that direction and go where I was needing it to go. And it took me forever to figure it out because it had all the plots on there, but there was no start button to start the journey, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't start the journey. It finally hit me. The reason that it was struggling is because my very first stop, or the starting point, was set to my house. And since I had run an errand first, I wasn't at the starting point, so the map didn't make sense. See, I could have jumped in the middle of it, but the way that the map was designed was for me to follow from point to point to point, and it started with being at home and then going from there. Now, I use that as an illustration because it got me to thinking that, that's kind of what I feel like we can experience in this time. We can have a path and a journey and a plan on how we're going to navigate and walk through all of this stuff and how we're going to come out of it. That's our goal, right? We have an end point in mind, and we're going to reach that destination. We have a path and a plan to get on that destination. But the problem is, a lot of times we're not willing to go through all the steps that we're supposed to go through. Or better yet than that, we're not willing to go through all the steps, but we're not willing to be honest about where we're starting from. And I want to challenge you to do that right now. Take some time, because you've been worried about everybody else. You've been concerned about all the other things. You've been criticizing all the leadership. You've been doing all those things, but why don't you just stop for 1 minute and just ask God to search your heart? Give him access right now for you to just look at your situation and say, God, I'm going to be honest with where I'm at. I know where I say I'm starting, but I want to be honest with where I'm actually at. In Proverbs chapter 4, here's the directions that's given in verse 25. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. I encourage you to do that this morning. As you're starting out, you're on a journey, you have a plan. A lot of us are experiencing those plans are kind of being turned over and changed, and we're not exactly, the diet that we said we were going to be on is now blown. The goals that we said that we were going to set are now kind of blown, and we're not being honest with where we're at. So why don't you take the time right now just to be honest with where you're starting from. If you are struggling, be honest with God. He knows. Let him know you're struggling. Let him know that today is the day that you want to just acknowledge that this has not been easy, you've not managed it well, and you're not starting where you say that you're starting. Hey, I promise you one thing. Any day that's started in total honesty is going to be a much better day than if you spend the entire day lying to yourself, trying to convince yourself of something that's not true. So keep going. be honest with yourself. Talk to God about it. He'll help you through it, and I hope you have a great day.